What if all the improvement strategies you followed are genuinely worsening your life? We've erected a whole enterprise on the assumption that we're inherently broken, perpetually adjusting ourselves as if we're malfunctioning devices. Yet here's the revolutionary reality. The central assumption that you need improvement is the only real flaw. Imagine a sea wave suddenly becoming conscious and worrying because it's not solid like a stone, because it continuously transforms form. The wave would attempt mending itself to achieve consistency. How preposterous would that be? Yet this is exactly how we humans operate each day. The wave is already exactly as it should be. Yet we persuaded ourselves that we're defective works needing perpetual reconstruction. We've been handed a backward narrative. You have problems needing solving, elements needing enhancement. And if you try hard enough, find the right method, you can finally fix yourself and become who you're supposed to be. This narrative is so threaded through our culture that we scarcely doubt it. We acknowledge our role as endless endeavors in development. But what if this core belief is wholly upside down? Here's something revolutionary. You are never incomplete, never partial, never a matter needing remedies. The only aspect demanding correction is the notion that you need correction. Reflect on nature. When you view a tree, you don't judge its branches as deficient. The tree is wonderful exactly as it presents itself. It grows and responds to its environment, but doesn't organize summits about personal growth. We humans have evolved this capability to become our own evaluators and overseers. We examine the mirror and see a reconstruction project requiring labor. Trees learn too, discovering which direction to grow toward light, how to drive roots deeper into earth. However, trees don't torment themselves about lacking height. They react naturally to what existence presents. The distinction is trees trust their fundamental nature, while we've been taught to doubt ours. We've been taught to consider our impulses unreliable, our answers presumably mistaken. So we develop an internal supervisor evaluating everything we do. Am I achieving enough? Am I evolving at the correct rate? It's wearying, like having a micromanager in your head, always finding you lacking. However, this overseer isn't who you are. It's absorbed judgments, inherited measures from family educators and culture. You assimilated a counsel causing you to feel permanently lacking. However, who notices this board? Who watches these critiques? Something in you witnesses this performance without becoming involved. That something is what you really are. You're not the ideas concerning yourself. You are the awareness in which all this appears like weather patterns through sky. The sky is never hurt by meteorological events. Turbulence comes and passes, but the sky continues boundless. Likewise, ideas of insufficiency arrive and depart, yet your essence stays unaffected. You can shift and flourish without the narrative that you're fundamentally incomplete. Notice young children mastering walking. They collapse frequently. Do they generate tales about being defective? No, they rise and attempt again, because walking appears enjoyable. Learning occurs organically, joyfully, without self-criticism. There are two paths to change. One presumes you're damaged, like a mechanic correcting a defective motor. The other recognizes you're already whole, like a gardener trusting innate flourishing. The repairman fights while the gardener works alongside nature. Most advancement approaches are mechanical. We manage ourselves like devices needing enhanced programming. However, what if you're more like a garden holding inherent wisdom? When you trust this intelligence, you discontinue fighting against yourself. Instead of forcing yourself into molds, you enable your structure to develop. When you stop fighting yourself, you release tremendous energy for life. Ponder how much energy you consume judging yourself. Picture that energy were obtainable for existing fully. The person who comprehends their entire route's energy toward expression and uncovering. Here's something startling. When you cease trying to repair yourself, matters you assume needed correction often handle themselves. When you discontinue creating self-criticism, your understanding becomes clear. A lot of what we think is defective stems from attempts to repair what was never damaged. You might believe you suffer from an anxiety issue and attempt methods to repair it. However, this attempt creates greater anxiety. What if experiencing anxiety sometimes is perfectly natural? When you discontinue considering anxiety problematic, it frequently dissipates organically. We've been taught to think we ought to feel certain emotions: pleased, secure, serene. However, emotions are the atmospheric conditions of consciousness, sometimes tempestuous, sometimes peaceful. This isn't a problem. This same truth applies to character traits we view as defects. Maybe you're quiet in a culture honoring extroversion. Instead of fixing these aspects, recognize them as your unique contribution. Oak trees don't endeavor to become pines. Rivers don't feel sorry for not being mountains. When you embrace your nature totally, something fantastic emerges. You stop wasting energy being something you're not. This doesn't indicate you never acquire knowledge, but growth springs from interest rather than deficiency. You learn because growth is fun. Children don't work on imagination. They simply imagine naturally and effortlessly. We learn to distrust natural intelligence. We've changed our internal life into an enterprise with reviews. However, your true nature remains, waiting for you to realize you were never incomplete to begin with. Here's an apparent contradiction. The more you attempt to better yourself, the more you emphasize needing development. But when you see you were never defective, improvement happens naturally, effortlessly. When you believe in your essence, development occurs like blossoms opening, beautifully in their own timing. This isn't apathy, but belief in the wisdom that animates your heart. So here's an offering. Carry out a test. For 24 hours, stop endeavoring to fix yourself. Treat that day as a present to accept. Meet emotions without changing them. Notice thoughts without judging. Consider yourself like a cherished companion, with gentleness, patience, and playfulness. You may discover you're perfect just as you are. This is the mystery. You were never broken. You're already full, already whole, already adequate. You're not separate from life. You are life showing itself as human, and life is celebration. We're all waves on the same ocean, each distinct, each whole, each fleeting. When you grasp this as living reality, you can at last relax into your true self. Your true being is more gorgeous than your imagined perfect self. You don't require becoming closer to life because you are existence playing at being human. The wave is the sea playing the game of being a wave. If these ideas spoke to your heart, I genuinely invite you to subscribe to the channel. Follow for more material that interrogates conventional wisdom about personal development and self-improvement. And write a comment below with the word whole to show me you're prepared to accept your complete, intact nature exactly as you are right now.